Hi there, how you doing? Welcome to another edition of Men Are So Smart. We are. I know I am.
What can I say?
I know.
Yeah.
Smart that we start a podcast with the garbage truck outside.
Yeah.
Smart. That's smart.
I gotta love that.
This is the show for men, by men, for women who want to know more about men. Does that make any sense to you? Well, my name is Lou Gallagher, and this is my best buddy, Corvette Ronnie.
How you doing?
Ronnie, in these first couple of shows that we're doing, we're trying to kind of get to know a little bit about each of us for our viewers. So why don't you start off by telling us, are you a local Sacramento guy, or where were you born?
Born and raised right here in Sacramento, California. I was actually born at Mercy High School.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a liberal school.
Mercy Hospital, and have spent my whole life, maybe 16 miles from where I was raised.
And tell us about growing up as a kid in Sacramento, some of the things you used to do.
You know what? I mean, back then we had a school just 100 yards from us, and so I would go over to that school, and we would, in the wintertime when it rained, there would be ponds. We'd catch pollywogs and minnows, and there was basketball courts, and we would play basketball. You didn't have to have your parents with you to do it. We were 6 years old, and we could be out there doing all this stuff on our own.
Helicopter parents.
Yes, yeah, that wasn't
Not so
a thing.
much to know.
That was not a thing back then. It's kind of like go out, and when the street lights come on, that's when you got to come home.
Yeah, or you hear your mom yell your name.
Yes, and she could definitely wail it out with the best of them.
Let's talk about your mom. Let's talk about your family.
So my father passed away when I was very young. My mom was a kind of a stay-at-home mom. Raised me, sent me to school. I went to school just a couple blocks from our house. Walked to school every morning with a big group of kids that became lifelong friends. Still friends with them today. And then went to high school at El Camino, where I happened to cross you. And
Don't cross me. Don't you cross me.
And that has been that's a long, long time ago, but we have been friends. There was a point there in the middle where we were raising families.
Yeah.
And working on our careers where we lost touch a little bit. But since we've kind of reemerged, we've been pretty good buds since then.
All right. In one of our previous episodes, we talked about how you were, or how you became a car guy, and how you stumbled onto Vegas, then a little later V8 Vegas. Tell us where that car guy thing came from.
I had some friends. All my high school friends were very interested in cars, and we started an auto shop. El Camino High School had a shop program that you could enter as a junior and then take another year as a senior. And so I not only did junior and senior year, but I was also the teacher's assistant in my senior year. So
I did that as well.
I had 3 or 4 periods of auto shop. I was really way ahead in school, and so I didn't need a lot of credits or anything to graduate. And so I ended up doing a lot of auto shop where we built engines, we built whole cars. That V8 Vega was a lot of it was assembled right there in the El Camino High School shop. Some of my friends, one of my buddies had a 41 Willys high hood Jeep that he put a V8 motor into. Another friend had a 57 Chevy Bel Air. Another buddy had a 67 Camaro pace car. And so we were all just always trying to make our cars go a little bit faster. That's when I decided my little 4-cylinder Vega just couldn't keep up, and bought another Vega shell and put a V8 into it, and then the rest is history, as they say.
So, building a V8 Vega, building race cars, very expensive. You probably were working during that time. Tell us about some of the jobs that you had while you were trying to raise all this cash.
Yeah, well, I started out, even before I drove, I was a paper boy. I had paper routes, and Once I got a car, realized that I'm not going to be able to do much except buy gas for a car with paper route money, and I became a bus boy. And even then, not quite enough. With my auto shop, background, I went to work at Woolco, which is now where Home Depot is at Madison Manzanita.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a very similar to Walmart today. They had an auto shop in back, and I started out I was what they called a tire monkey. When you came in, I would mount and balance your tires and put them on your car. And slowly but surely, I became a little bit more well versed in cars and started doing all the front end work, like replacing ball joints and tie rod ends and upper and lower control arm bushings, and then doing the alignments afterwards. And that was really, Wilco had a program set up where you could make a lot of money as a mechanic if you did a lot of work. And so that's where I really got my first taste of grease under my fingernails and getting in there and working on cars and tearing them down and having no fear. If you have the right tools, you can really do anything to a car.
So how do you get from V8 Vega to Corvette, Toyota Tundra, and I believe you also have a Camaro too, if I'm not mistaken?
I do. I have an old '69 Camaro Super Sport. So, it was right out of high school, I bought a '72 Corvette and realized that even though I could afford the car, couldn't afford the insurance.
Yeah.
My insurance was about $200 a month. I was making okay money, but and I moved out of my house when I was 19 years old, so I had a lot of different things going on, and decided 6 months is probably good enough. I've owned this Corvette and it's breaking me as far as insurance, so I had to let it go. But I was bitter. And so I knew that at some point
you were going to get another Corvette.
I was going to get another Corvette.
Yeah.
And once I was very close to 50 years old, ran the numbers for my insurance. It's only $450 a year, and thought now's the time to pull the trigger. And so I went down to Los Angeles. I bought another Corvette down there and drove it home, and that's definitely my Corvette experience.
Yours is red. Is there a particular color, a name for that color?
They call it torch red.
Torch.
Yeah, it's about the color of this piece that Adam has painted behind us. Very similar to that. It's a very bright red. My color red kind of washes out a little bit in the sun, the direct sun. It's almost like a pinky kind of a red, but under lights, fluorescent lights, it's beautiful.
Yeah. Okay, so you're a car guy. We've established that, and the other connection between the two of us is music. And I know that you've mentioned that you played in a lot of the high school bands. Where does that love of music come from, and you're learning to be such a great guitar player?
About when I was about 10 years old, that's what I asked for my birthday, was a guitar. And so I did. I got one of those very inexpensive acoustic guitars with steel strings that kill your fingers when you first start to play. But I played, and I played and played and played to the extent that when I had a paper route and I was making a little more money, I bought myself an electric guitar. And that was when I was when I got to high school. Boy, I wish I still had this guitar. I bought a very old, but in good shape, Fender Jaguar guitar. It was probably about a 62, probably worth about $5,000 today.
Wow.
Of course, back then it was just an old guitar.
Yeah.
It was, everybody had one. So from the Jaguar, I decided I kind of liked the sound of Gibsons with the humbuckers on there, a little bit fatter sound. I bought a Gibson SG, and I think that's what I was playing when we kind of got together, was my SG.
AC/DC's guitar player plays an SG.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. I liked the sound, but the SG was kind of limited. You were very, you were going to be stuck in a certain genre of music. You were going to be playing a lot of AC/DC style music. And so I bought a Les Paul in 1978, and it has served me. I still own it. It served me very, very well. You can cover any kind of music from jazz to Beach Boys. Really, everything is possible on that Les Paul.
It seems to me, though, you and I back in the day were dyed and true Gibson fans.
Yeah.
It seems as though the tide has turned just a little bit, though.
A little bit. I still own my Les Paul, like I said, but I do have two Stratocasters, and I also own an Ibanez electric guitar that's kind of a jazz box. You know.
That's that white one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very jazzy. I don't play it all that often. It also is kind of limited. I had a Rickenbacker that was, oh God, and I'm a huge Beatles fan, and so the Rickenbacker really struck a kind of a little chord with me that I had to own one. But it's also extremely limited. You're either going to be playing Beatles or some Tom Petty stuff, and that's about it. And it was a very expensive guitar, and at some point it was either sell the guitar or not. The kids weren't going to get anything for Christmas. So sold the guitar, and like I said, that Les Paul really covers everything. But even now, these Strats, they're so versatile. They have a couple single coils and the humbucker, and so you can play a lot of different genres of music. And you know, with music, it's not so much. I know I have a friend. His whole key to playing music is making sure that everything is note for note the way it sounds on the album, and that his tone is just like the album. And I'm not that concerned with that. No.
All right, so we've learned that you grew up in Sacramento and had all kinds of different jobs, from waiter and busboy to changing oil and tires.
Yep.
Somewhere along the way, you developed a desire to go into law enforcement. So tell us about your career in that.
Well, I remember in 6th grade, we had a deputy sheriff, I believe, came into our school. It was kind of a career day, you know, and he talked about all the great things that you can do in law enforcement. And right from then, about 12 years old on, I decided that's what I want to do. I really didn't know how to get into it, though. I had been working at Savings Center at Arden and Howe, and then later at Watt and Whitney. I thought, you know what, this is a pretty good gig. There's not really a retirement set up with it, so long term, you know, not going to be that great. But I think I can make a go of this for a while. I met a friend when I was living in an apartment at Marconi and Mission, and he told me one night at a party, hey, I'm going tomorrow, and I'm going to test for the Sacramento Police Department. Do you want to go with me? Yeah, let's go. So next morning, we got up bright and early. We headed down, took the written test. They have a physical agility test afterwards. I was about 50 pounds lighter at the time. And no problem. They said, we'll call you with your results in about 2 weeks. He got a call that said he did not pass the written portion of the test.
Rural.
So he called me up and he said, hey, if they call you and offer you a spot in the academy, don't take it, because you'll be there by yourself. Like, no problem. So they did. They offered me a position at the academy. I didn't take it. About 2 weeks later, he goes, hey, Sac County is now testing. Let's go to Sac County. I said, all right, please try to pass the written portion of this test. It's not that hard. So we did. We both took the test. We took the physical agility. We both passed. We both went through the academy together, and we both started our careers at about the same time. And we actually ended our careers at about the same time, too. So it would have been 1984. We got out of the academy. We were offered positions as an on-call with our department. He wanted to work more full-time, and so he went down to Contra Costa County and got a full-time position there. I still had my little gig at Savings Center. I was happy working, you know, half days at both places, until at one point in '89, So about 5 years I did the on-call thing. In '89 they called and offered me a full-time position, and I took it and never looked back, and just retired just about 3 years ago to the day, March 22nd of 2014. I retired full-time, and now I'm working as what they call a on-call retired.
Reserve?
Yeah, it's a retired annuitant position. So we can work up to 960 hours a year without affecting our retirement check.
Was there ever a moment in your career where you said to yourself, wow, that just happened, and that is why I got into this line of work?
You know what? There are so many instances where you can help people, and it's wonderful, and it makes your heart swell when you make a difference in somebody's life. And you know, we take a lot of people to jail, but for some people, going to jail is that wake-up call that says, somewhere along the way I made some bad choices and I need to redirect my energy. And so sometimes going to jail is not always a bad thing. If you can, you know, set people, and boy, there were people I took to jail that are never going to do anything in life. So you've got those also, and that's just, it's sad that there are some people whose greatest aspiration is to just make victims out of other people.
What was the most dangerous situation you were ever in?
You know, I remember there was a bank robbery. In fact, there were several of them out in the South area. One of them happened. We get a flood of police vehicles into this area, and then we can't find him, he's gone. And while all these police vehicles in the area, another one happened about 2 blocks away, completely different description. The guy just picked the worst possible time to rob a bank because there are 15 police cars in the area.
Yeah.
So I parked on a street where I knew which direction he was coming. I figured he's going to pop out in one of these houses. We had a pretty good perimeter set up, and lo and behold, and I'm over the fender of my car with my gun facing at the fence that I believe he's going to jump over, and over he jumps. And it is definitely the guy. He was wearing a sport coat over a football jersey, and that was exactly the description. Yell for him to stop. My gun's pointed at him, and he reaches inside of his coat, and my finger was just like bouncing on the trigger. And before he pulled his hand out, he jumped over the fence, jumped back over the fence he just jumped over, and they tackled him in the backyard. But that was, to me, I mean, I never wanted to kill anybody in this, you know, in this line of work. You always hope that you just don't have to do that. And thankfully enough, my whole career I never had to. But boy, I was pretty new in the department, that's just not really how I wanted to get my career rolling.
So many years later, you picked up a partner. And I know that this is kind of a tough thing to talk about, but could you tell us about Dora and what she meant to the Sleep Train Arena and what she meant to you?
Well, yeah, a little black lab named Dora. She came from Israel. We got 4 dogs on a grant from Homeland Security. They brought them over here to the United States. We actually sent 2 deputies to Israel, and they brought 4 dogs, fully trained dogs, back. 2 of the dogs went to work for Regional Transit, and 2 of the dogs went out to Folsom Dam, which is where I was. So her main job was to search vehicles that were going up to the top of the dam. This was post 9/11. They were very concerned about people living downstream from the dam. This is Folsom Dam has probably one of the biggest populations downstream of maybe any dam in the nation. And so it was pretty high up on the critical infrastructure list. So anyway, her job was to search those vehicles. Somewhere along the line, and she was unbelievably proficient. You have to certify your dogs every year. I once had one of the proctors tell me that might be the best dog I've ever certified. And She was really amazing. Like I said, a little tiny black lab, but amazing at her job. She wanted nothing else to do except work. She didn't enjoy her time off very much. As soon as I touched my uniform, her body would just start wagging. So she wanted to work. At some point, the Sacramento Kings called us and said, hey, the Golden State Warriors are going to be here tonight. NBA has this thing. If we have a sellout, we have to have a couple bomb dogs out here. Can you guys bring your dogs out here and search the arena? No problem. We went out there, searched the arena. It takes hours, takes a few hours to go through that whole arena top to bottom. They ended up, and Dora was very, very friendly. She was a super people person type dog. And people were tweeting about her. And like, I just met Dora the bomb dog, hashtag Secto Kings. And they told me Dora actually got more hits than the whole Kings team that night, so we'd like to have her back. So we went and we started doing some of the sellouts. Technically, every game was a sellout, but not really. Yeah, there were a lot of empty seats during some of those sellouts. So it got to the point, though, where NBA instituted a policy. Every NBA team has to have a bomb dog on payroll, and the arena has to be searched, and the dog has to stay there for the whole game in case he finds something in the parking lot, or if something is being delivered that can, the dog can be available to sniff it before it comes in the arena. So we started out just doing a few games, and from 2012 to 2016, we did every game, and we did a couple concerts every year. And she became a fan favorite. I always tell people, every person in that stadium knew Dora's name. Nobody knew mine. Yeah. So, which was fun. She was definitely the star. She loved it. People could tug her on her ears and pull her tail, and she just didn't care. She was a great, amazing dog.
Tell me the story, and I know it. I could tell it myself, but I want you to, about the woman that asked you that ridiculous question one time. You know the story.
Yes. So we're out front. We're on one of the ramps. We used to always be on the southeast ramp as people come into the arena. And people want to take their pictures with Dora, and that's fine. So Dora was posing with them. And then it was a family. It was a husband, wife, and 2 children. And the lady asked me, does she do any tricks? I said, well, yeah, she can find hidden and buried explosives, and that's a pretty good trick. So the husband burst out laughing, and he agreed with me. And like, yeah, she doesn't, she's not going to bring the newspaper or bring my slippers to me. She's not that type of dog. So, yeah.
And Dora passed away recently. That's so sad. I know that you're still dealing with that.
It hurts unbelievably. And probably the only living thing on earth that missed Dora more than I did was our other dog. We have a German Shepherd also. Heidi. And so just recently, like 3 weeks ago, we got a new black lab. All my dogs are rescues now, and so we were working with Labs to Love Rescue. They found me a beautiful boy. He's big and he's clumsy and he's young, but I'm actually hoping that I can train him up and use him in a relief capacity out at the dam during the Amgen race and during the California International Marathon. So my aspirations with him is to get him trained up as a bomb dog again.
Right. Well, he is a beautiful dog.
He's gorgeous.
A little trouble though.
Yes, he's going through that puppy. He's about 10 months old, and he's going through the stage where he wants to chew everything. And so I've lost a couple shoes, a remote.
The price of doing business, Ronnie.
Yes. You can't take your eyes off of him. You absolutely can't take your eyes off of him because he's got something in his mouth, and he's dead set on destroying it.
Tell us about your family now, your wife and your kids.
So my family now, I have my wife of 32, well, coming up on 32 years. have a
What's
son.
What's her name again?
Oh, where is it?
Starts with a B. D.
Vicky.
Vicky, that's it.
Yes. So Vicky and I have been married 32 years. We have a son and a daughter. My son lives in town here, and my daughter is in San Francisco, and she's probably going to get married this year. They're engaged. They both work so much, though, that they're having a tough time, planning a wedding. So, if everything goes right, 2017 will be the year she gets married, and her husband can then assume her cell phone bill.
Yeah. I made that happen right away with my daughter. Okay, so let's see. If you had, let's say you have an unlimited amount of money and you could go anywhere you want on vacation, where would you go?
You know what? I believe I love auto racing, as do you. I'm a huge sports fan. I love all sports. But I would say that I would probably go to the Daytona 500.
Well, let's go.
Yes.
2018?
Man, I'm down. A couple years ago, I went to the Brickyard 400.
That's right.
We were back east. And
Indianapolis.
I went to. We weren't actually in Indianapolis. We made a little road trip from Nashville to Indianapolis, and we caught the Brickyard 400. Wow, so amazing!
Yeah.
Those cars are so fast and so loud.
Yeah.
The sound, you can't even begin to imagine how loud it is. And it almost, I'm not going to say it takes away from the race a little bit, but you can't hear the announcer at all.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're a little bit lost.
Yeah.
So in hindsight, I would have bought the little, they sell the ear protection that you can also hear the announcement of the race. And so, for $20, it would be well worth it to do that down the road. That's the only way I'll watch a race anymore.
Well, you know what? We could take this show on the road.
Oh, boy.
And we could write the whole trip off.
I'm down. Let's do it. Yes. Daytona, here we come.
Yeah, 2018.
Yep.
Send your money to.
We need a Kickstarter.
We need a jump starter.
Yes.
All right, Ronnie. So I think we've had a pretty good opportunity to get to know you a little bit, find out what makes you tick, and what you bring to the table, and how that pertains to our new show. This is it. It's called Men Are So Smart.
I think everybody knows that. Yeah.
So that'll wrap up another edition. Be sure and check back on our YouTube page, and we will be adding more and more shows and asking for your participation. We can Skype with you, ladies, if you'd like to weigh in on some of our differences. Until we see you the next time, bye-bye, everybody.